Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLM life and some true crime content here on this channel. So if any of that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to stick around. In today's video, I am bringing you anti-MLM content. So of course, just as a disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only and just my opinions. Before we proceed, I do want to give a shout out to Arel for becoming a patron. Thank you so much, and thank you to all of you who watch my videos for free. Today's video, I'm interviewing Kim, who is in the process of leaving her MLM. We didn't mention which company she is currently still, I guess you could say, working for, but there are some hints throughout the video, and it is a health and wellness MLM company, so keep that in mind as you watch this video. Kim has decided to start a YouTube channel as well. So hopefully by the time that this video goes up and before it goes public, her channel will be up and running. It will include some anti-MLM content along with lifestyle content. So if for whatever reason it's not up by the time that I get this video up, I'll put it in a pinned comment or I'll put it in the description box, something along those lines. But this video and this interview is the perfect example of why the anti-MLM message is so important, because Kim accidentally stumbled upon anti-MLM content. Then she furthered her research, which we talk about that in the interview, so I won't go in depth with that. But another thing that I wanted to say as well is that for whatever reason, the picture quality or the image quality is very pixelated. I'm not sure if it was the internet connection or what the case was, so you might just want to listen to this as a podcast style instead of watching it. But without further ado, let's get into this interview. So, you go ahead, I guess. Thank you so much for being here today and chatting with me today with this interview. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit and kind of talk about the MLM company that you're a part of, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. So my name is Kim, and I joined an MLM, there's a reason that I don't want to say the name of the company, and it's just because, so I am currently still technically a distributor for the company, but really, that's not really by choice, because I just started in July of 2020. So it had only been a couple months, and I realized pretty much immediately what I had gotten into. But the way that it was structured is I had these loyal customers that had to be on auto ship for 3 months. Otherwise they would have to pay like a $50 penalty fee. So I was like, well, I'm kind of trapped because I don't want these people to have to pay this $50 fee just because I decided, oops, I made a mistake. So I was like, you know what, I'll stick with it for, a few months until I can get these people out of it, and then I can get myself out. So like I said before when we were talking, I am still technically active. I suspect that once this video comes out, I'll get kicked out of those chats and things pretty quickly, which I'm perfectly fine with. Because I'm over it. I'm so over it. And at this point, I don't have any loyal customers left or anything like that. So I'm just kind of like still being included in the chats and stuff like that, but I'm not really doing anything with it.
Okay, so I know that you don't want to mention what company it is, but for my viewers, it is one of those, we'll just say it this way, it's not a jewelry MLM or anything like that. It's, I don't want to give it
Like
away.
Yeah,
a health and wellness one. So it's a health and wellness MLM. And as most of you guys know, I was actually part of one of those companies too. I was part of Beachbody. So let me just ask, because I kind of want to know if there's maybe some kind of or not difference, but a similarity, because they're both health and wellness companies. So do you feel as though because in my experience with Beachbody, I do believe that they kind of push not necessarily, well, yeah, toxic diet culture and stuff like that. So do you feel that this company does the same?
Yes. Now, the way they go about it is really different because I definitely feel like everything that I've seen about Beachbody specifically is just, I mean, we know.
Mhm.
We know
Yeah.
their tactics, things like that. I don't think that it's the company that I came from, it's not as toxic. It isn't one of those like, hey, I'm going to message this person that looks like maybe I think they need to lose weight and tell them that they need to lose weight so they need my stuff.
Mhm.
It's more so like kind of putting it out there into the internet like, hey, I have this stuff. If you want to lose weight, I got you. You know what I mean?
Okay. So it's okay. So the reason why I asked is because a lot of people always talk about how Beachbody, they go ahead and go after, or not necessarily go after, that seems very extreme, but they tend to pitch to new mothers, or as soon as, I mean, I've heard horror stories of people straight out of the hospital, and within like a couple of days they get a message from a coach saying, hey, so I see that you had the baby, do you want to get back to your pre-baby weight, kind of a thing. So in
Oh my
these,
gosh.
yeah. So in these groups, do they ever, I guess you could say, kind of promote this kind of approach? Or I know that you said that it's kind of, they just put it out there, but have you ever seen someone say, maybe if you're talking to someone, or if they're a mom, or maybe if they put on a couple of extra pounds, if you want to maybe talk to them about it, has there ever been like a sneaky little marketing tactic that way?
I think previously, probably, and I've never, now I was not a very good salesperson, and I pretty much immediately, I mean, within the first 2 weeks, because everything is copy and paste.
Hmm.
Everything is, hey, these uplines have created this thing. All you need to do is copy and paste it, and every single one of them starts with, hey, girl. And so right away, 2 weeks in, I was like, I can't do this. Like, that's not even how I talk. I never say, hey, girl. So people
Hmm.
are going to know right away that this is obviously not, something is wrong. But I think previously, so I actually, a few years, several years back, I had known somebody. I work at a corporate job now, and I've been there for almost 12 years, so it's been quite a while. And I would
Hmm.
say maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, I actually worked with a girl who had started with this same MLM company on the side, and started her own business and all that stuff. And she actually, within a couple of months of starting with the MLM company, she actually quit the job that I worked with her at the corporate place, because she was going to do that full time. So at that time, I was like, wow, I didn't realize people could make money that way.
Hmm.
So then when it kind of came back around, I remembered back to that, and I was like, oh my God, that girl made a full-time living. This can be done. So I remember, the reason I bring that up is because I remember when she did it several years ago, there was one product that was kind of, I guess they called it like a revolutionary kind of thing. It's not a
Hmm.
pill or a shake or anything. It's like a body application thing. And um, so I think at that time they definitely were more so targeting people like, hey, do you want to get rid of that cellulite? Do you want to tighten up your skin and this and that? But that product doesn't seem to even really be the focus anymore.
Yeah, I've noticed that that product was, like you said, it was considered like a revolutionary product. And I remember seeing it all over my social media for the longest time. Like when they first came out with it, it was everywhere. And I
Yeah.
recently, when I posted something about how I was kind of switching up my diet a little bit and starting to work out and stuff like that because, of course, yes, I was getting married and everything. So I did want to look a little bit different for my wedding. But at the same
Right.
time, yeah. But at the same time, I also started feeling, I mean, my blood work came back that it was kind of iffy. It was kind of like borderline. So I kind of needed to take care of myself anyway. So
Mhm.
I made a post about that. And I said how I announced that I finally said yes to the dress. And so I said something in there. And someone from the MLM company, they reached out to me. And I noticed that their newest kick is keto diet type stuff. So
Yeah.
so I've noticed that they've kind of went from this one revolutionary product to boom, we're gonna hop on this keto train, which I mean, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist or anything like that, but from the research that I have done, keto in the long run can be harmful to some people. I know that when I was talking to my neurologist, because I have epilepsy, so I was talking to my neurologist, and the keto diet is, they actually, we tested it out with me, and it did make me feel a lot better. And with my body and blood work and everything like that, I'm actually okay to do keto. But the problem is that for certain people, it can do more damage than good. So my
Right.
question is, have you ever seen or heard of a fellow rep or someone in the company or something like that say something about, let's say that they got an, I guess you could say, if they were talking to someone and the person was like, well, keto is not exactly the best diet or something like that. So has anyone ever talked about that aspect of it?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So I'm in a so when I first got started, my direct upline invited me to this what they call a newbie chat.
Mhm.
And so basically it's like a couple of like uplines and their uplines and their uplines, and they bring in these new people to kind of, love bomb them and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so it's a place where the new distributors can go and ask those questions like, hey, I was trying to sell to this customer and they said they heard it was dangerous, or they asked if they could, take it while they're pregnant and things like that. And what I noticed was there's never actually an answer. It's always just, no, no, it's safe. It's plant-based. Like
Mm.
it never has been like, oh, maybe this person should talk to their doctor, or they should stop taking it until they're sure. It always is just, no, it's safe. It's plant-based.
Okay. Yeah, because I was curious because a lot of people in the anti-MLM movement, when we talk about these health and wellness MLMs in particular, is we always talk about how they're not, and I mean, I at first when I joined Beachbody, this was my thought process too, was I wanted to, in a sense, help people. That was I genuinely wanted to help people. And I was
Yeah.
never, yeah, and I never had this thought of I want to recruit people. It was always I just want to help people. I just want to sell the products and the programs and that kind of a thing. But when I joined and I asked my upline, I said, "Hey, do I need any kind of special training? Do I need to be a personal trainer? Do I have to have some kind of background or education in nutrition and stuff like that?" And she told me, "No, you just sign up. You just have to be this age. You just have to have an ID and you're good to go. And you just have to sign off on all the paperwork." So I found that kind of odd when I first signed up, but in that moment, like I said, I genuinely wanted to help people. So in the moment, it was, oh, this is fine. And when I think of that, I think of like the meme with like the dog sitting like in the fire surrounding him in like the house. So so that's kind of what I think of. But and I mean, the good thing for me was I knew that not necessarily the legalities behind it, but I knew that I'm not certified. I don't have the education to back up certain things. So if someone would ask me a question, I had someone ask me, "Hey, is this okay to take for my diabetes? I have type 1 diabetes." And I'm sure that there are allegedly some people out there that would possibly say that, oh yeah, it's fine. But for me, I would always tell them, talk to your doctor, because I don't want to give you the wrong information. And that's just kind of the mindset that I had. So, and I mean, I'm sure that in other groups there may have been some people who said, yeah, just go right ahead and tell them to take this product and whatnot. But so another question that I have for you is, why did you decide to get started with this MLM, and did you know anything about anti-MLM prior to joining? Because I always find it interesting if someone did know about the other side of, I guess you could say, instead of being pro MLM, to see the other side of everything.
Yeah. So I had never even heard the term MLM. I certainly didn't know that there was an anti-MLM movement. And I do have to say that what you guys are doing, so important, because I I went back and forth. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, maybe this is not for me, but then maybe I can make it work. Maybe it's just a company. Maybe if I try with a different company, the results will be better. And then I was on YouTube actually watching a coaching video,
Mhm.
and I happened to stumble across, I don't know why, I guess because of the coaching video that I was watching that was tied to MLM, which, you know, the algorithms and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So it led me to an anti-MLM video, and I was like, well, what's this? What's an MLM? So I just was like, let me check it out. And I was like, oh my God. Well, what was funny too was so I actually approached my upline. I wasn't recruited at all. The company that I am with, or was with, they do this thing called host a post. And with me just saying that, now everybody probably knows what the company is, but
Mhm.
they do this thing called host a post, where they get other people to post for them. So instead of me just posting and only my friends seeing it, I ask my friends to post basically the copy and paste that I send them.
Mhm.
And so one of my Facebook friends had done a host to post for the person that became my upline. And it was just simply like, hey, are you looking for a couple extra bucks? My friend is looking for people to work from home. And I was like, all right, I'll bite. I'll see what this is about. You could always use a couple extra bucks. So I dropped a comment or dropped an emoji or whatever it was that they told me to do. And then the upline IM'd me, and we got started that way. I always kind of like flew under the radar though. And I think maybe that's why, because I went to her instead of her needing to like keep coming to get me. Like, I was
Mhm.
just the easiest. Like, I was the easiest sell ever, because I was like, hey, I want to do this. And she was like, all right then. So when her and I talked about it a little bit, and I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. That's cool. And so I told my husband, and the very first thing my husband said was, isn't that a pyramid scheme? And I was like, it might be, yes, it might be. But I mean, and again, I thought back to that girl that was able to quit her full-time job and do this full-time. So I was like, it might be a triangle-like structure, but
Mhm.
people are making money at it, so why couldn't I? And then once I got in and realized, oh, you have to actually recruit people, you can't just sell the products. That was when I was like, oh no, this is not going to work, because I, I'll be honest, I lost a significant amount of money
Oh
very,
no.
very quickly. I mean, I was only, yeah, yeah. And you don't realize it. Like, I actually went through, when I knew that we were going to be doing this call, I went back through the numbers. And this is honestly one of the reasons why I've stayed active, is because I wanted to kind of have this information to reflect back on. Um, so in the moment, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. You know what I mean? Like, it was a $99 startup. which, looking back, I shouldn't have to pay somebody to give me a job, but in the moment. So I paid my $99 startup fee, which didn't come with any products or anything. It was just to get access to, the back office. And then you pay $20 a month to keep your website up for your business. And then, with this company specifically, I didn't have to have any inventory on hand. But as you get into the coaching videos and they tell you, start following this person and start watching this person's training things, and they invite you to this private Facebook group where they're giving you all these coachings and things like that. And they say, drive the car you sell. So I'm like, okay, I probably should be trying these products if I'm going to be trying to sell them. So I did. I bought a lot of products. And so I wanted to tell you the numbers because I think it's important for your viewers to hear this, because when you see it on paper, I almost fell out of my chair, honestly, when I added up the numbers. And when my husband sees this, he's probably going to die. Put a number to it. And he was supportive from the very beginning. He always is. I'm just kind of one of these jump right in kind of people. And so he just kind of supports me and goes along with it, but he's probably going to die when he hears this. But so the commissions that I made. So my very first month, I made $80 in commission, which at the time seemed exciting. Because I was like, oh my God, I made $80. This is insane. But then the second month, I made $29. The third month, I made $33. And the fourth month, I made $26. So my total pay for the entire 4 months that I was with them was $170.
Wow.
The total that I spent just on products alone was $845.
Oh.
And then if you add, the $99 startup fee and the $20 per month for the website, I spent a total of $1,024.01, and I made $170.
Oh my God.
And that's only 4 months. Just that really puts it in perspective, the amount that these people must be spending, especially the ones that have to have inventory on site. I went to a flea market a few weeks ago. There was a Color Street distributor, a LuLaRoe, and a Paparazzi. And I think there was a fourth one, but I can't remember. And they just had, just racks and shelves and walls of all of their stuff. And I'm like, if this is what I've spent, I can only imagine what they've spent. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Wow, that is a lot of money to spend.
It really, really is.
In 4 months. And that's why I always tell people, well, not always, but I say it a lot in a lot of my videos when I talk about income disclosure statements and stuff like that, because I always tell people that keep track of your income from your commission and everything, and then keep track of how much you're spending, whether it be on auto ship, website fees, products that you're buying for yourself and stuff like that. And then at the end of the day or at the end of the month, whatever you want to do it, take all of that and figure out how much is actually profit, and then divide it by the amount of hours that you're working to see how much you're really making an hour. Because there are people out there who do this because they don't want to, let's say, go out and work a part-time job somewhere, whether it be in retail or in food service, because that can be depending on your situation, that can be a very stressful and strenuous job because you are on your feet all day. And so I think that this is how, and I think that this is how a lot of MLM companies are able to get these predominantly women to join these companies, because a lot of times if they're a mom too, for example, they get them by saying you can stay home with your kids and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you finally figure it out, you're making less than federal minimum wage. And you're better off just getting a job working in retail. Maybe you can only work for 4 or 5 hours for a couple of days here and there, and you'll still make more money than you're making in this MLM. And you don't have to spend money to join and become part of the team at one of these retail locations or food service, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Especially around this time of year, they usually have, all of the, well, not necessarily, maybe not now because of the pandemic, but most years, this is a time where they hire seasonal people, and, you get all of that extra income for the year. But yeah, it's that's a lot of money to spend in just 4 months.
Yeah.
That is a
Yes.
lot. That is a
Yeah.
lot. And I think that because when I finally figured out how much money I had spent and how much money I made, it was ridiculous how much money I actually essentially lost. And then I lost a lot of my time too, which brings me to my next question. How much time did you spend on this business?
So one one of the things that actually got me, because before I even agreed to it, before I even was like, yep, I'll sign up, they invite you into this thing, like this Facebook group where one of the up lines is talking about her experience and where she came from. And we've all heard the story. It's always the same. Oh, I was broke, living paycheck to paycheck, and now I'm a 30-year-old millionaire, and I get to be home with my kids. We all know the story.
Mhm.
And so, so I have one child, and he's 17. And I've worked a 9 to 5 his whole life. And at some points throughout his life, I've had 2 jobs. And so I missed a lot of time with him. It just kind of was a blur. And so one of the things that they kept, even more so than making money, was they really promote this time freedom thing. And I mean, it's just everywhere. I get to go this place with my kid and that place with my kid. And I'm like, my son is 17, so he doesn't really need as much time from me now, but it felt like it would have been nice to kind of get some time with him now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That is not the case, because one of the things that they say, and I mean, if I ever hear it again in my life, I'll probably scream, is that you can fit this business into the nooks and crannies of your day. You cannot, because the same people that say that you can fit it into the nooks and crannies of your day are the same people that say you didn't work hard enough, you didn't work long enough. And they promote this lifestyle of make sure you take a day off, you have to take a Sabbath, make sure you take one day for yourself. And I'm like, well, in my 9 to 5 I get 2 days off.
Mhm.
So why should I have to force myself to just take one day off when you're boasting all of this time freedom?
Mhm.
And so not only is that the expectation, you need to be, I mean, there's these lists that they give you. There's this list called the 100 list, where you're
Mhm.
supposed to write down 100 people's names and then constantly follow up with them. And in the first hour of your day, you're supposed to do this. And I mean, they want you to structure out every hour of your day. So right there, I'm like, well, you're telling me how to spend my day. So how is that I'm picking when I'm working? But then the Zoom calls, the Zoom calls, like it's, so Sunday night, there's a 9 o'clock Zoom call and then a 10 o'clock p.m. Zoom call. But
Oh my
I
God.
get up at 3 a.m. to start my day. So I would be on this Zoom call at 10 o'clock at night on Sunday, knowing that I had to get up at 3 a.m. the next day to do my 9 to 5. And then there would be one on Tuesday night about this thing, and one on Wednesday night about this thing, and then there's a 9 a.m. one on Thursdays. There's like at least one Zoom call every day of the week, and you're expected to be on that. And usually it's an inconvenient time of the day. So now not only did you lose your whole day, even if you are working this business from home, you're still spending the entire day on the phone. You can't possibly be paying attention to the people around you if you're constantly on your phone. But now you need everybody to clear out so that you can be on a Zoom call as well. I could not believe the amount of time that this took. And I never recruited a person. I was only really, and they tell you, make sure you post your life and create that FOMO and all that stuff. So I definitely was posting more than I ever had before. And I'm sure people that I've been friends with for a long time were probably like, Kim finally snapped. Why is she posting so much on Facebook? Like, what is she doing? Because I would post myself like with like the weight loss pill, like taking my weight loss pill. We're probably like, oh my, what's wrong with her? But even just like the having to post what's going on in my life, and I would, post myself getting ready to go to the gym and all this stuff, even with just that and the Zoom calls without the whole recruiting piece, it had to be 4 hours a day. It had to. So, I can't even, I can't even do that math in my head. For 4 months, 4 hours a day, probably 6 or 7 days a week. And I only walked away with $170.
Yeah.
I don't even know where that math is.
That's horrible. Yeah, and that's another thing is that these MLM companies, when I was targeted for Mary Kay, one of the things that they told me was, of course, they did the financial freedom thing. So they said that I could pay off my student loans, and because that's like a really big thing that is still plaguing my life. But so that was that was the reason why one of the reasons why I even thought, yeah, maybe I'll join this because I'll be able to pay that off. And then when she told me my upline, when she said that, you'll be able to quit your 9 to 5 and you could have all this time freedom. But when I look back on it now, and I actually just thought of this, I've never talked about this before, but when I look back on it now, all of the time that she was on social media, all of the time that I saw her, because this was when I guess you could say like the Skype and Zoom calls and stuff first started to become a thing, because this was several years ago, almost a decade ago. Oh my gosh, that's so long ago. So this was before talking like this even became a thing. And we had a lot of the phone calls that you would call into the specific number, and they had like the password for it or whatever. Or we did in-person meetings. So there were times where I would leave my 9 to 5 and then I would go straight to this, I guess you could say like wherever their meeting place was. I don't even remember where it was or what it was, but it was some random building and we would have our meetings there. And then when I think about it, I used to see her all the time at Panera, because the way that she actually even came to know who I was during my 9 to 5, we had an hour lunch break. So we all went out to Panera for lunch. And I see this girl walking around, really beautiful. She's so beautiful, so happy, just like a really like a ray of sunshine. And she was just so excited and all of this kind of stuff. And she comes up to our table. She gives us her business card and she says that she's giving out free facials and all of that kind of stuff. Well, come to find out, it was just us meeting in the middle of Dunkin' Donuts and her having like a little bowl and me like washing my makeup off and stuff that way. But that's besides the point. But but she spent hours at this Panera. And that's just one way that she was getting in touch with people. She was messaging people on Facebook. She was holding these meetings. She was having all of these phone calls. And I think about it and I'm like, how much time freedom do you actually have that you're out here like doing all of this stuff? And then another thing too is that we didn't live near each other. So when she did this free facial in the middle of Dunkin' Donuts, she met me in my hometown, and that was not anywhere near where she lived. So you got to factor in those expenses that she's driving. So she's using her car, she's adding all this mileage, she's using all this gas, and then all of this time too, because it probably took her at least 45 minutes to an hour just one way to meet me. So like that's what these people don't think of, is that there's really no time freedom. And a lot of times when you see these uplines, those Zoom calls, for example, because they don't have just Zoom calls with their team, they have Zoom calls with leaders, with other uplines, with people that are in charge of the company, for example, like CEOs or people that are at the very tippy top of that triangle structure. So so that's the thing that these people don't factor in, that yeah, maybe they are bringing in all of this money, but how much time are they spending to get all of that money? First of all, how much of that is how much of that are they walking away with, because they still have to pay for taxes, they still have to pay all of that auto ship, they still have to pay for all of those products and stuff like that. So, and of course your time. And I feel like the fact that they target to moms, your time is very valuable and very precious with your kids, because just like you were saying, you were at one point working two jobs while taking care of your son. And I think that they fail to realize that while yes, you may be home physically with your child, but are you actually there with them mentally? Are you actually really truly there for them? Or are you just home talking on a Zoom call while they're playing in the background screaming because mommy's still on her call? And that's something that they don't factor in at all. So yeah. Sorry, I kind of rambled. I tend to ramble.
No, you know what? And it's so like I have been telling anyone that will listen. Like I just start these random conversations now about how people should not join MLMs, and it's just crazy. Like, so I get it. Like once you get it, because there's so much to talk about. Like it's just there's so much.
So I have a question, because since you kind of you did accidentally stumble upon anti-MLM content. So my question to you is, when you first watched that anti-MLM video, did you immediately think, oh, they're just a hater, they just didn't work hard enough? Or did you go in it with an open mind? Because I feel like a lot of times the comments that I get from reps, I've had maybe out of all of them, out of all the DMs that I've gotten, maybe 2% of them are civil and aren't there to say that I'm a hater. They're just there to educate me on the opposite side of things and have a civil conversation. So when you first watched that video, what did you think?
I was super grateful that I found it. Because like I said, immediately it felt gross trying to recruit, because I started to notice, for me, $99 is a lot of money. And for a really, really, really long time, years and years and years, we were very paycheck to paycheck. I maybe would still consider us paycheck to paycheck, but sometimes not even. Sometimes the paycheck was gone before the groceries even came into the house. So I know that $99 is a lot of money, and I was hesitant to spend it myself, but I thought I'm going to make it back. But just it felt so icky to try to even recruit somebody. So, I already kind of felt like I already knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely, when I found that video, and honestly, I can't even remember whose video it was, but shortly thereafter, I started specifically searching for anti-MLM, and that's how I found you and a couple of others. But I, I definitely went into it with an open mind, and I also wasn't surprised at some of the things that I heard. So I can't understand how even just watching just one anti-MLM video, I can't understand how anyone can continue with it after that, because the facts are solid. The science is there. I mean, you can't argue with numbers like that. You can't argue with the fact that only 1% of the people make money. I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of distributors that, if they just sit down and do the math like I did, they will realize, yay, you got a payment that was enough to buy your coffee or, your gas, but how much did you spend? How much time did you lose? So it was, I mean, I don't get it, because I definitely, that very first video, I was like, yep, I guess I'm not the only one that's feeling this way. This is obviously a real thing. I don't understand the argument at all, because it's just so sad. It's so sad that people are just losing so much money. And you know what's funny about the income disclosure is, I don't know about the other companies, but I know for this company in particular, when they're trying to recruit, they actually flash, they'll do like the, Instagram stories where there will be like, this one has this little blurb, and then this one has this one. And then the very last one will flash up the income disclosure. And I remember seeing that in the very beginning, and my natural human focus went right to the high numbers. And I didn't stop to ask myself, what do you have to do to get to those high numbers? I was just like, oh my God, I can make $500,000 a year. Because I guess your eye is just automatically drawn to that.
So the way that it works with the income disclosures, the reason why so many people are starting to add them to like their Insta stories and stuff like that is because the FTC has started to kind of crack down on, excuse me, on income claims and stuff like that. So if someone is talking about, let's say that they're talking about how much money that they made or whatever the case may be, they have to put that income disclosure statement there and say a disclaimer that not everyone is going to make this money, that this isn't going to be everyone's experience and stuff like that. And I have noticed that a lot of reps, they'll, just like you said, they'll flash it on the screen like really quick and then it'll go away. So for some people, it's just like a quick, like, hey, here it is. Okay, bye. So I think that that's a little deceiving in a sense, because you want to be able to look at it. And I always tell people to read the fine print, to look at every single rank, to see the percentage of what each person is or each rank is in the company. Because if you have a company and it says, there's a recent one that I was looking into, I actually just finished, I'm rendering the video right now. Before we got on the call, I'd like just finished editing it. But in that one, it said that I think it was either 73 or 75.8% of people are at the bottom of all of these ranks. And then if you look at all of the other ones, it's very, very, very low amount of people. And then at the very top, those people, they make up 0.3% of people in the company. So I always tell people that if you really want to join an MLM, and if you're really just hell bent on that and you don't want to listen to any anti-MLM content, you don't want to, look at any of that kind of stuff, I always recommend for people to look at that bottom of the income disclosure statement. Because if you have, let's say that there's an income disclosure statement that says 85 to 90% of people are going to make possibly $1 a month, I mean, that's really concerning. And I think that shows, I think that shows that it's not a sustainable business model. In order for this business to function, they need people to be losing money. They need people to be at the bottom of the pyramid or the triangle, whatever you want to call it. They need people at the bottom, and they need people like you who spent $1,000 and you only made $100 something back in that 4 months. That's an easy $1,000 for them to get in 4 months. I mean, if you think about it. So
absolutely, my upline was probably like, yes.
yeah, she's probably like, yes, I just made bank on this. I mean, I don't know what the commission rates are for your particular company that you're with, but were with, depending on if whoever's watching this, when they watch it, maybe you'll no longer be with it, because you'll be kicked out. But yeah, it's just the amount of people that lose money in these MLM companies, and the amount of information that's out there that's against MLM companies is just crazy. And when I see some of these Zoom calls or some of these behind the scenes videos of these uplines in these groups, it's concerning to me that they don't view it as this is the other side of the argument. They view it as you're a hater or you didn't work hard enough. And that's the problem, is that with the pro MLM side, they don't have any facts to back up why this is such a good business or a business model, whatever you want to call it. So, and another thing too is that a lot of these companies, they walk that very fine line of an MLM and a pyramid scheme, because the focus should be on selling the product. Just like, how we were talking about just earlier, that, you realize that you're going to make more money recruiting. Or for me, I didn't go into Beachbody wanting to recruit. I went into Beachbody because I wanted to genuinely help people. But I quickly saw same thing, that you're going to make more money by recruiting.
I can't remember who it was. I want to say maybe it was Savannah Marie, but I'm not sure. But somebody just maybe recently, I don't know. There's so many videos that I'm like, yes, I need this one. I need this one. At this point, I'm trying to absorb all of the education that I can, because like I said earlier, I'm trying to tell everybody that will listen, the horrors of the MLMs. And so I'm trying to soak it all up. But there's this thing called TeamZ. Have you heard of it?
Oh yes. I actually, Savannah and I, we both made a video about that, and it was a really long, I think it was back in March or something like that, or somewhere along those lines. It was back then. And because someone told me about it, and I was thinking in my head, this is a brilliant idea for the people that created it, because they're making money off of MLM reps. And they were in an MLM themselves, so they know exactly what to put in this app. Did you use that app?
So I was this close. I was this close, because the way that they market it is stop sending those hey girl messages. And I was like, oh my God, I hate the hey girl messages. So this is probably for me. And I mean, when I tell you, I went on and gave them my email address and everything. I still get the emails from them trying to get me to sign up. And thankfully I never did, because my, that $1,000, who knows what that number would be if I had done that. I was this close, because I really wanted to make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's so tricky, and it's so hard to navigate, and now also there are MLM reps that are they're posting these videos but disguising them. So when I was very first learning about the anti-MLM movement, I was doing all kinds of searches and things like that, and one of the videos that I came across was titled "Why I Left It Works." And I was like, okay, I always like the ones that say why I left Beachbody, or, whatever. So I was like, let me check it out. So you watch this whole video, and it's this woman telling you why she left the MLM that she was in and all of these terrible things, and they made her do this and she had to do that. And it just, it wasn't sitting right with me the whole time, but I was like, I'm going to stick with it. And what was weird about it was she was wearing like a button that said like, uh, get well now, ask me how, or something like that. And I thought it was strange, but I was like, I'm gonna stick with it. So sure enough, I watched it all the way through, and she had definitely made me understand why she left that particular MLM. And so I was like, yeah. But then at the very end, she like pushes for her current MLM.
Oh.
It was so deceptive, because if I hadn't already been in a place where I was like, forget it, I'm done, that may have gotten me. Do you know what I mean? I may have been like, you know what? Maybe it's just the company that I'm currently with. Maybe if I went with her company instead, it'll be better. And that's not the only one. I've seen a couple more that have done kind of the same thing. They'll title their video why I left such and such, and you think it's going to be anti-MLM, and it's not. It's just them trying to sway you to thinking that their MLM is better. And I think it's really important for people to know that, because it sort of has like I think it gets a hold on you, and I think it can become addictive for people, you know, especially when you have so many people coming at you with, hey, this one doesn't work, but this one does, try this one instead. And they're throwing all of this, you know, here's why this one's good and this one's bad. And so I understand why people just bounce from one to the next, and before they know it, they've been in 15 MLMs, because people are always trying to, you know, recruit them into theirs.
It's funny that you bring up the how like MLMs can be addictive, because I don't know if you watched Savannah Marie's most recent video, but she actually compared MLMs to that of like a gambling addiction. And
yeah,
I thought that video was really well put together, and it was very interesting, because I've had that thought for a while too, because as I see these people that jump from MLM to MLM, or when I see that they will literally do whatever they can, they will take money from people and ask people, hey, can you spare me like a couple of dollars because I need to make my, I don't know, PV, or I need to stay active or something like that. And when I watched that video, it kind of like solidified the thoughts that I already had about that topic in particular. But I would love to see an actual licensed and educated person in that department kind of look into that, and maybe even do a study. And I would find that very interesting. But yeah, as soon as you brought that up, it just immediately I thought of Savannah's video. But yeah, there's a lot of really great videos out there. There's a lot of, just like you said, like why I left It Works, why I left Beachbody, why I left Monet, why I left X, Y, and Z, all of these other companies. And when I was first watching anti-MLM content, I think the same exact video that you were just talking about, I think I came across that video too, because I went down this rabbit hole of anti-MLM videos, and I started seeing why people left their MLM. And now I guess you can consider me anti-MLM, because I've been talking about it on my blog ever since Beachbody. And I talked about how it actually put me in more debt when I was told that, oh yeah, you'll be able to pay off your student loans, you'll be able to pay off your credit cards and all that kind of stuff. But so I was talking about it before, but I never thought to make a video for YouTube. And it was just, yeah, I started watching these why I left this company, and that's when I decided to make my first video, because there were so many. And then I did see the few that were saying how I left this company because of this, and then they joined another one. There's one of the people from the Vice documentary for LuLaRoe, I forget what her name was, but she filed for bankruptcy, and I think she's already gone on to do other MLMs and stuff. And it's so sad to me because it's like, you filed for bankruptcy and you still think that another MLM is going to be different. They're all the same. They're just selling a different product.
Right, exactly.
And their compensation plan might be a little bit different. Maybe more people or less people are making money, who knows? But they're all very, very similar. It's just the way, or even, they call one person a consultant, another person a coach, another person a affiliate, an influencer, and they just keep coming up with these these new terms. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're all the same. So, but yeah, we've been talking for almost an hour. Is there anything that you want to add? I didn't even realize we were talking for that long.
It's so easy to like you said, fall down the rabbit hole and just, but
Yeah,
there's so much.
yeah,
I
exactly.
really, oh, I think, like I said earlier, I think it's what you guys are doing is so important, because I really, even though it felt grimy from the beginning and I knew that this wasn't for me, it is I mean, I'm a human being just like anybody else. And when you're dangling, time freedom in my face, or
Hmm.
the potential of being a millionaire in my face, you know what I mean? I'm a
Yeah.
person. So it's very possible that if it weren't for the anti-MLM movement, I may have fallen into another trap, or I may have given this one more time. I may have said, you know what, maybe I should just suck it up and start recruiting people, because ultimately at the end of the day, I think that if you're okay with recruiting people knowing that they're going to lose money, you probably will be successful. And that's what it comes down to, is the people that are at the top, they were okay with recruiting people that were going to lose money.
Hmm.
So if you're not okay with that, and you're never going to be okay with that, then an MLM is never, ever, ever going to be for you. But I don't know if I would have been able to come to that realization if it weren't for your videos and, other people's videos. So it's so important for people to know. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, if you're not willing to stand on the backs of others to be successful, this business is not for you.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anyone, any of your viewers that are, currently in an MLM, do the math. You know what I mean? Look back at even just the past 3 months and just see, how much did you actually get paid? Like, what was your paycheck versus how much you spent?
Hmm.
It can't possibly balance out. And if it does, then that's fantastic, because I certainly don't want to see anybody lose money. But that ultimately, I think, is hopefully, I mean, even if if we help one person, because you helped one person, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
if we can get one more person to realize, you're probably losing money. But when it's happening gradually like that, when I spent $60, but I made 30, I'm like, okay, well, maybe next month I'll only spend 20, but I'll make 60.
Hmm.
It's hard to see it, but when you look back at the grand scheme, you've got to add those numbers up and make sure it's worth it.
I am so thankful that you reached out and that you wanted to come on my channel and just talk about your experience and talk about it from, being still active, because I know that that can be very scary. So you let me know if you want me to cover your face after this. If you decide that you don't want, if you want to be, kept anonymous, that's totally fine by me. Um, just to make sure that, if you have any paychecks, you actually get paid. So, um, But yeah, I'm really, really thankful that you reached out, and I'm so happy that our videos were able to help you, because that was actually the plan when I started making anti-MLM content. My first video, I really just put it out there for anyone else who felt like they failed, or who, I just wanted to add to the conversation. This wasn't supposed to be an actual YouTube channel. That's not what this, it just kind of happened. And then when I started creating more content and I started talking to more people, it was just so worrisome as to how many people have lost so much money and so much time. And the goal of my channel was to help one person. And that was the goal from, when people started saying, hey, can you make another video? And I'm like, I guess why not? So I started making more videos, and then it turned into what it is today. And I'm just, every single day, someone sends me a message about a new MLM or an MLM I've never heard of before. And I feel like the more and more that we talk about it, the more I find out just how many companies there are out there that have MLMs. Or the video that I was editing before this, it's Swarovski, or I think in the American accent, it's Swarovski. I don't know if that's how you say it in the American accent, but I think that's what it is. But that company, a really well-known company, they have an MLM business, and I didn't know that. So it's like,
Really?
yeah, it's called Touchstone Crystal. So it's crazy to me to see these legitimate, well-known companies create MLMs, because obviously it's making someone money. Most of the people who are working aren't getting that money. So it has to be profitable in some kind of a way, but not in the right ways, not for the people who are doing all the work. But yeah, it's just every time that I look into another company, another 5 pop up, or another 5 just like come out of nowhere, and it's like, hey, we're here, try to take us down because we're brand new. uh, but yeah, it's crazy, and it's so sad that so many people are still losing money. And I'm really glad that you actually did that math before we started talking, because I think it's great that you were able to actually figure out how much you lost, and that's just in 4 months. I mean, can you imagine doing that for years? That's a lot of money to lose.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As I said earlier in the video, in my intro, I will leave Kim's YouTube channel linked either in the description box or in a pinned comment, so make sure to go ahead and subscribe to her channel. And I guess that's all that I have for you guys today, and I will see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye.